Good morning. I'm Abduweli Ayup. I have been fascinated by Uyghur language since I was young. Every year around March 21st, we hiked up the side of the mountain to a beautiful spring. The landscape was around it was dry and barren, but the spring was lush with the flowers spilling out everywhere. There, our village gathered to compete in a poetry competition, honoring the 11th century Uyghur linguist Mahmud Kashgari. The first time I took part in this competition, I was 8 years old. I remember standing on the stage, everyone clapping for me. Our elders told us that knowledge is just like a spring. If you study well, those seeds will grow to make your life and everyone else's lives more beautiful. My father oversaw the event. He was a geography teacher and administrator in charge of 15 schools. My mom taught math and literature. I was one of the 6 sisters. At home, we had tons of books, red books in Chinese, and yellow books in Uyghur. They were considered dirty because of it's in Uyghur. Only my parents were allowed to read those books, but my dad had an amazing voice. I had to record the recording out loud to us on my tape recorder, then look at the books and try to match his voice with the words on the page. That's how I learned how to read before I even went to school. So perhaps it's not a surprise that I became a linguist. I moved to Beijing to study in 1992, expecting to find a whole new world of academic and intellectual freedom. And to some extent, that was true. The Beijing National Library had tons of books in Uyghur, books we couldn't find at home. I got my bachelor's degree, then master's. It was around that time I had looked at internet and I learned how to use email. I remember I sent my first email to my friend in New York, and immediately I received the reply back. I was shocked. I didn't sleep that night. I spent hours looking up email addresses from professors at different universities around the world, asking to learn from them. I really thought that modern communication technology would break down every barrier between us. In 2001, I became a teacher at the university in Lanzhou. I had so much academic freedom. There, I could teach everything I wanted. But then, I got a new job in Urumqi, my hometown. And everything was tightly controlled. The administrator treated me like a baby. I resigned and sold my apartment. I moved to the United States with my wife and daughter. In just 6 months, my daughter lost her language. I realized I need to start a Uyghur language kindergarten at home to keep those kids' language during the critical period. Otherwise, they might lose their language forever. I was still in the US on July 5th, 2009, when police attacked peaceful protesters in Urumqi. They killed nearly 200 people and ramped up security overnight, adding new checkpoints and a curfew, shut down the internet, which connected me to the world before. By that time, I moved back home in 2011. Everything had changed. The first thing I noticed was an echo on my cell phone. They tapped my phone and were listening to everything I had and my conversation. I opened a new kindergarten, and it wasn't long before 3 state security came to visit me. They asked if I was working with Americans. I told them, look, I don't care about all of that. I'm focusing on teaching kids my Uyghur language. But I knew that they worried that I was a separatist. So instead of just focusing on the Uyghur language, I organized a conference with the Kazakh, Kyrgyz, and the Mongol and Shibaz scholars, because those languages also are in danger. I applied for a permit to invite various scholars and found a restaurant to host us. When I arrived, nobody was there. I tried calling my friend, and the policeman answered the phone. I went to the station and told them, I'm responsible for this. I'm the organizer, and you must release my friends. They said, okay, tell your friends you will cancel the event. I said, okay, cancel the permit first, because you gave us the permit. They said, no, cancel your event. I said, you cancel the permit. I went back and forth that until 2 a.m. in the morning. When I finally called it off, I knew that we were doing was legal, but it was clear that they didn't arrest me if we didn't stop. The next morning when I woke up, my wife told me that police shut down my kindergarten. They told the students to go home, and they pasted a note on the door stating that kindergarten was closed completely. I asked my friend, why didn't you call me? He said, I tried calling you. I realized that the police had shut off my phone service completely. It was like a stone. I desperately tried to find a new location for my kindergarten. At first, people would agree. The next day, they say no. It didn't matter how many millions of followers I had online who believed in our mission. The police were asking hard behind the scene to shut it down. Then, in August 19, 2013, they arrested me. I knew it was coming. A friend tipped off me. They put a hood over my face, handcuffed me, chained my feet, and put plaster over my mouth. Once in a prison, they interrogated me repeatedly about nothing I have done. Police accused of working for CIA. I had no idea about that. They accused me of inspiring separatist movement to overthrow the Chinese government. I had never dreamed of. They printed out thousands of emails before those emails connected me to the world. Now, it written over 15 years, asking me how I knew those people and activists. Of course, I had no memory of all of them. Suddenly, I realized that modern technology was not the only way to connect us. In the wrong hands, it's world's greatest tool of oppression. For 15 months, they tried everything to get me to confess, but I didn't. But I refused to confess, not because I was brave. It's because of true. I had nothing to do with those accusations. I'm not a political mastermind. I'm a teacher. I just wanted to teach. I just wanted to share my language with the students to help them learn how to read and write, how to recite their poetry. And then, in November 20th, without any warning, they released me from the prison. I emerged to a whole new world. Police checkpoints every 500 meters. Cameras on every building. Kashgar looked like a battlefield, so many tanks. Worse, I learned that they forced 900,000 Uyghur kids into boarding schools. Those were my students, and now they are alone, without their parents, or their family members, or their teachers, or anyone they loved, including my niece and my nephews. I knew I had to leave China, so I escaped to Turkey, followed shortly my wife and daughter. Today, I live in Norway, and I'm a storyteller and story collector. I document Chinese human rights violations and share those information with the journalists, NGOs, and the researchers. My mission is to force attention on the Uyghur genocide, but I have come to realize it's not just an Uyghur issue. Cultural linguistic diversity is something, well, all should care about us. The Chinese government wants everything in Mandarin because it is so much easier to control us. They are afraid of our difference. But the richness of human life comes from our diversity. It is why we travel. It is why we try different foods. And as a linguist, I know that language, what it unites us. From 11th century, from my young age, from the Uyghur linguist to the present and into the future. If I lose language, if we lose our language, we lose everything. That's what Chinese government wants. They want the Uyghur people to disappear. I, for one, will not let that happen, and neither should you. Thank you.